books, magazines, and classes for expectant moms. But what about the dads? We'll show you how one author is helping men prepare for their first baby as Your Health continues. Most women expecting their first child are pretty well prepared for parenthood. They've taken classes, read books, and had frequent visits with their obstetrician or midwife. But for the men, it's a different story.
Ah, the miracle of a newborn baby. A tiny package full of promise. In generations past, a father's place during birth was in the waiting room. And while mom labored, dad waited and waited and waited. After the big event, a good father peered through the nursery window and then went back to his job to provide for his family. But in today's world, dad's role is much different.
We're expected to be there during the whole labor. We're expected to be there for the birth. We're expected to drive the carpool, carry the baby, change the diapers, all these kinds of things that were not part of the definition of good father 20, 30, 40 years ago. Now they are.
But where's a new dad supposed to learn all these skills? There are shelves lined with books on childbirth and motherhood, but 15 years ago, Armin Brott couldn't find any information on fatherhood.
Just nothing out there at all. There was a little tiny section in the back of one of the books for women which talked about why men would have affairs during their wife's pregnancy. And I thought, it's not exactly the kind of advice I'm looking for.
Now he's a parenting expert. The author of several books for dads, Brott teaches a class at California Pacific Medical Center called For Expectant Fathers Only.
As men, we're supposed to know everything and be all-powerful. And so if you ask your wife, you're really saying, I need help, which is not a good thing to do as a man. Hi, thanks for coming.
All Brott students have one thing in common.
I know very little about taking care of a baby.
Their concerns and questions set the class agenda.
The fear and anxiety I have is how this is going to change my relationship with my wife.
And having talked to people, I know there are bad parts, so I guess I'm just concerned about how those are going to unfold and how bad they're really going to be.
I'm trying to figure out what being a quote-unquote good father really means.
They talk about balancing family, career, and finances, and get a little practical hands-on time as well.
And then the baby just rocks forward and rests on your forearm.
Each dad is in charge of a baby for the duration of class. For many, it's the first time they've held a baby for more than a few minutes.
If there were a bunch of women around, they would feel weird about holding a baby, but with a bunch of guys who are in the same situation, we all look like idiots. So it's okay.
For some, it takes a little trial and error to get it right. Gentlemen, where are your babies?
Well, we're supposed to have that.
Brott says men need to get past the so-called motherhood mystique, the belief that women are naturally better at caring for children.
And, nobody really wants to change a diaper. Nobody really wants to deal with a crying baby. And so if your wife comes in and says, honey, let me take the baby, it's natural just to say, okay, go ahead. And that right there is one of the big problems, is that the men don't have the opportunity to make the kinds of mistakes that they need to make and to learn the kinds of skills that their wives have got. They need to know that it's okay to make mistakes.
The class also covers things like diapering, breastfeeding, anger management, sleeping arrangements, and relationships.
And what I want to do is give them as much information as they can possibly have so that they can make an informed decision that works for them and their family.
And by the end of the evening, these fathers-to-be feel more confident, informed, and prepared for the journey ahead.
They're going to be good fathers, they're going to be involved fathers, and they're going to be the kind of guys that we need to raise the next generation of kids.
As a result of this class, I'm not going to be a super dad, but what I've learned is that it's just going to be a process. And this is just one step in the many that I'm going to take throughout the lifespan of this child, to be a better father. And I'm glad that I came.
Armin also says that while quality time is good for both the dad and the child, quantity time is just as important.